Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you for joining us here on the program where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for our special edition of Tell Me Your Story, and then Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., following the news, streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. That's 9 programs, 9 topics, 9 guests, and 9 conversations that you're going to want to tune into. And you can do that also by going to SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio. And we're also on YouTube, and I hope you'll subscribe and click notifications so when I post a new conversation, you will be notified and you can tune in and listen in and learn something and get entertained, I hope. We are also asking, if you can, to support the work that we're doing financially. We have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask you for an email address to whom to send, richard@richarddugan.com is the email you want to put in, richard@richarddugan.com. And finally, we ask that you take some time during the decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within and listen to that still small voice. Our program today is taking a turn. I think it's going to be fascinating as we have our conversation today with a woman who originally comes from Czechoslovakia, but she's gotten around to various parts of the United States, here in Chicago, New York, Florida, and of course now she's here in California. And she's an artist. Her name is Misa ART. And we want to thank you so much for coming on the program to share with us about your story that people will find out about in Tower of Light. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Richard. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Well, I want to let our listeners know that you can find out more about Misa ART, and that is her name, first and last, at misa-artwork.com. That's Misa, M-I-S-A hyphen ARTWORK.com. So we hope that we'll be linked to that website as well, your website, so that folks can just click on it as they're listening to the podcast and video cast. Tower of Light, it is not only your story, but if I'm understanding correctly, it contains some of your artwork. Is that right?
Tower of Light is a book that I wrote about my near-death experience, and it has the same title as the future interactive sculpture project that I would like to build for the world.
Mm-hmm.
For healing humans. It's going to work as an interactive sculpture to a place where the seeker can make a wish and also enjoy the art. It's an outdoor gallery, and it's also going to support nonprofit organization for children. So that's my mission.
I was on your website and I was looking at the diversity of artwork. And when I say diversity, you are into a lot of different styles in regards to artwork. One of them, you pick up a grinder, if I'm not mistaken. Now, am I correct? Was I looking at the right one?
That's correct. I work with metal, and I put a paint on and I take off the surface, and that's how I make when you put the lights on it, it actually creates this 3-dimensional effect. So I work with metal and wood, and I use grinders and different power tools to distress the surface. So I am a painter sculptor, but I do only 2D work. But the 3-dimensional part, it happens when you put a light on it. It like lights up, and it creates. It's the opposite when you're a painter. You're making layers up, and you build the layers, where I am doing the opposite. I'm going in.
You say that you were born to be an artist. When did you know that? How early did you know I am an artist?
I think that it was when I was a 4-year-old, and I always got frustrated with my mom trying to doodle something for me. I'm like, "Mommy, can you draw this for me?" And she's like, "Okay, that's." I'm like, "No, no, that's not it." So I start to, drawing a different kind of things for myself, and then it would be a preschool in America. So yeah, it was in Czech Republic. So it was preschool. I was 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really hyper kid. I had a probably ADHD, ADD, whatever. And the only time that I could calm down and not talk was when they gave me a pencil. So during the nap time, when everybody took a nap, they had a certain area for me that they gave me the pencil and I would draw. And during the communist time, there is this president of Czech Republic on a wall, a picture of him, photo. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to draw this guy. So I drew him, and then the headmaster of the preschool was like, okay, I'm 45 and I would never draw that. So let's call your mom. So they call my mom. They're like, this girl needs to go to some kind of art thing. I mean, look at this. So it was like, you're literally like black and gray shading portrait at 4-year-old. So I always knew that in me, but I think that the outside, like the parents and stuff, they always knew that I'm a little bit different, but the art would be probably around 4.
Mm. It's fascinating. There are so many people out there creating different pieces of artwork, if you will, and I suppose each one of us has that ability. I know that I do drawings, and and I'm working on finishing and publishing in the next month my book, which will contain some of my own drawings that go back quite a number of years. And it's fascinating, the plethora, if you will, that are out there. And it seems to me that seems to be, if we tap into it, a natural um, outpouring, if you will, of most human beings. Not everybody
Yes.
taps into it, but it is there. It sort of sits there dormant until you decide to tap into it.
In the moment that you let go of the final product, how it's going to be, who's going to think of what of it, if you need to sell it, if you need to do that, and then you just sit down and you let that energy go through you. I believe that we are all artists. It's about the process and the energy, the downloads that they can go through our bodies, and not to think about what people think about the final one,
Mhm.
what anybody thinks about how it should be, or what you think, because usually we are the worst enemies of our creations, because we're like, it's not good enough, it's not, is it good? So I think that yes, I believe that we all are artists, and then there is this creative part of us that we should find, and that's what we do all our lives. And that's when the spirit of ourselves thrives, whatever
Mhm.
it is, if it's drawing, if it's painting, if it's singing, if it's even like walking. I mean, to do something with that energy, it's healing for us.
Yeah. Matter of fact, an interview that I just finished, we were talking about that very subject of healing, and that in many of the programs we've talked about using sound for healing. Art obviously is a healer, not only from the observer perspective, because there are times when we'll see something and it will impact us in a certain way, but as you're creating that art, whether it is going down that list that you have put forth, um, because it seems to open up certain vibrations, if you will,
Yes,
certain
yes,
pathways. Talk to us about
yes.
that.
Well, it's really interesting that you're talking about that. So I did have a near-death experience. I was hit by a car in Chicago as a pedestrian, and that's when I developed even more of these visions, and I can do intuitive art. But what I wrote in my book was that first there is no light. First there is a sound, and each of us have this certain vibration, and we vibrate. So anything we create has this vibration. Maybe might be not visible to our eyes, but it does have this vibration. Like you walking into the room of some person is there, and you just click with them because they probably have a similar vibration. So when you're making art, in the moment you're making the art, you are vibrating with certain vibrations. So I used to be, you can read it in the book. I was painting for my own healing because I was a lots of time like bipolar, like depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime I was painting, it was healing for me because I was getting the pain out. And then I had an art opening and everybody's like looking at my art and crying. A pain, it's a very, we don't like it because that vibration, it's sad, but it's also healing. So there was a part of my life where I was creating out of a pain, and that vibration of the piece, it was not necessarily the subject, but it was vibrating with this thing that it really made people cry and they could connect. And now I am painting out of joy and I do intuitive art. So the vibration, I channel the other person while I'm painting, and it's their vibration, and I put it into the piece. And we decided if it's to make them calm or bring them energy, it's connected with the feng shui, but the vibration is there in the visual art. It's the sound is the first thing that I could hear and feel through all of my being when I left my body for that moment. And the vibration is the first thing when we leave this world. And that's the first thing what we understand when we coming to this world. So when I was giving a birth, the vibration through my body, it was very similar to the vibration when I felt before the needed experience, like that moment. It was after that I went to the journey to Peru after my needed experience, and this shaman, I was like, this sound, what is this sound? What I could, hear, like, where is it? Like, I was listening to music, I was looking at the things. I'm like, where am I going to find this? And I realized it was my vibration of my being. Everybody has a different hertz, different vibrations. And when he started making the sound with the conch shell, like on the top of Machu Picchu, it was like really deep sound. I resonated, it's the same like when you hear good music and the spine thing going up and down. This thing was just like vibrating. So it's true. Each of us have a different vibration. Everything that we create have a different vibration. And that's how people can connect with it. It is through the vibration.
Mm. Well, it's fascinating again that people are drawn to different art forms, and obviously people are genuinely drawn to the work that you do. Is there a place that we can go to aside from your website, which, by the way, there are pieces on your website that I guess people can actually purchase, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
And so forth. So we encourage people to go to your website, and we'll give that out in just a moment. But are there locations, physical locations, where we can connect with Misa in the gallery, in front of and next to the work that you have created, that you've put your vibration into, to not only get in touch with the piece that we're looking at, that we're experiencing, but also maybe connecting a little bit more with you?
Yes, so I had art in Naples, Florida. I had art in Chicago. I pulled everything out because of this project that I'm going to do. So it's really hard to focus on so many things. But I do have an open art studio with in Santa Barbara, which is going to be doing the Labor Day weekend. So that would be, you literally would meet my energy, my vibration here. in my studio and my art. And I also used to have a gallery on the State Street, which we closed during the pandemic. But as of now, like I do individual like connection and custom pieces. I'm focusing more on that. I do have a couple feathers. I do paint feathers on a copper. I call them a wish feathers. They're in a Paradise Found here in Santa Barbara, where you like actually make a wish on a piece of paper, and you put in the back of the art piece, you put a wish to the other side. So these are these copper feathers that I love to share with the world. But as far as like my artwork right now, I really focus on individual intuitive custom work. And lots of artists don't like it because they're like, how do you know that this person will like it? And I go, I do know because I literally can channel their energy, and I study their astrology, and it's them. I mean, you would really have to not like yourself else to like the art. So these abstract landscapes are literally connected to their soul. And I think that it's beautiful that as artists, we're sharing our downloads, but I let go of the ego part of it, that like, oh, I know how to do that. I know how to paint that. It's kind of like, I really enjoy to connect with people on a soul level and make their art that like it goes through me and it's them, it's so yeah, so the Labor Day weekend art studio opening, it's and then Mesa in November, Mesa Art Open Studio. So I will do that this year. And I am planning to propose the Tower of Light as the prototype. It's like $250,000 project. So I'm like waiting for my investors. I'm like putting, things everywhere as we know. So I'm hoping to build these towers, the prototype, here in Santa Barbara. So that's going to be outdoor gallery. That's going to be pretty amazing. So as far as of like putting stuff in the galleries, it's a lots of connections. I did have some art in a Scottsdale too, and New York, but as of now, because I'm focusing on that sculptural project, this year I pull out everything in, and I have it just in my studio, and everybody can connect directly with me, and I will make them intuitive art. I love to do that because it's collaboration, it's collaboration of the spirit. It like makes me so happy. And it makes them happy. Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes me think too of the concept of Reiki healing, and that when I went through my Reiki master training, I was taught that I was a conduit of the energy. Is that how you feel, that you are just a conduit of that energy and it flows through you into the tools that you're using and the material that you're working with?
Yes, definitely. And also like, I am conduit. I can be also transformative, but that happened during the near-death experience. So that's how you call the Reiki energy is the conduit, and then the shamanic energy is conduit plus. It literally like I can turn it around. So I don't know, like I know it's like it sounds like so shamanic, but it is shamanic. It's basically like the pain, the love, and all of the energy can go through me, and I can like clear it out. It can go back to that person, but clear.
Right.
So I have to do lots of sauna, lots of meditation, if I do this work, and we all have a little, how to say it, little, things, patterns, pains, all of these dark things. Like, of course, like, we're here to balance the light and the dark. So, and then we have people like you who can like, no, I'm not saying that no one heals anyone. All we can do is heal ourselves.
Yeah.
But there are people who are conduit to the energy. The energy can go through them. There are people that they can transform the energy. And all it is, it's simple. All it is love, you
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
and it works. I mean, it's a really beautiful thing when you are in peace with it, who you are, and that it's not like you you know, at the beginning when you're starting to explore this, you feel a little bit crazy, uh because lots of people don't understand it and you don't understand it. But as much you can get in peace with it and be true to yourself and find your authenticity, it is the thing that's why we are here for. I mean, that's the truth. I hope. I mean, you know, truth. Truth is the one word that like it's really iffy. But
Hmm.
I mean, I believe that your own self, authentic self, to the path and the journey to it,
Mm.
it is the pure light of truth, and you are capable of touching every touching yourself and touching every each of them, and you just not hope, but like you feel that it
Hmm.
has this effect and it's
Yeah.
going always back to you. It's like, you know, boom, boom, like it's a flow. It's amazing flow.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting that you bring that up because it brought to mind. I've had this experience a number of times in just the last few days, where I'm aware of, because I will still catch a snippet on TV of what's going on in the world, locally, nationally, internationally. And then I will get out in the car to head to work, or get out in the car to head home, and I'm coming up the hill up to 154. And all of a sudden, this feeling of, I get, the only word that comes to my mind right now is a sense of this feeling of joy, not exuberance per se, that comes over me like, yeah, that stuff's going on, but so what? So what? Big deal. You know, the life is good. The planet is beautiful. Needs a little spit and polish, yes, but overall, it's a beautiful place. Love going to the ocean and listening to the waves crash into the sand and the surf and so forth. And up here on the mountain where I live, listening to the birds in the morning and the evening and so forth. And then if it's the right time, the right season, you'll hear the crickets, as well as off in the distance, usually after a rain, you'll hear the frogs. And of course, hearing the frogs gives me a great sense of comfort, because I have been told that as long as you can still hear the frogs, your ecosystem is still intact.
Oh,
Somehow,
nice.
the frog is a key. I don't know why, but it is, and I will just accept that. Um, and when I am, because I'm in the process of publishing my book next month.
Congratulations,
Well,
man.
thank you. Um, I am going through it. Now, I'm curious, when you're creating, this happened to me when I was editing. I had pulled a lot of material from a manuscript that I had been writing in the mid and late 90s and into just into the 2000s. And then, of course, what I have been writing in the last, I'd say, 5, maybe 10 years. And I'm reading along the old stuff, I'll call it. And I'm starting to get choked up, not from an egotistical standpoint, but it was like, wow, that still
Hmm.
resonates with me. That which I wrote back 20 and 30 years ago still resonates with me. It's still a part of me. That's still part of my philosophy. And I think it was maybe it was sort of a sense of relief that, oh, thank God I don't have to recreate it or come up with something new. I'm still, because I was taught in my 20s, or early 20s, I was told this wonderful saying: it is better to begin in doubt and end in certainty than to begin in certainty and end in doubt. And that's what came to mind when I read those passages. And I started to feel that emotion that I wasn't 100% certain, even when I was writing it, that, I mean, I had shared
Right.
with my eldest
Right.
sister that, hey, my beliefs of today, yesterday are not my beliefs of today, are not my beliefs of tomorrow, because I'm still alive. I'm still growing and experiencing and so on and so forth. But that said to me that, yeah, you're still on the right track. Just keep
Yeah.
going, you know? Do
It's a
you,
sense of,
as
yeah,
you're,
it's a sense of self-love.
you're listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are talking with Misa ART. And she is here conversing with us about the work that she does, the artwork that she does. Was I correct in what I was watching on the screen on your website that you and I'm maybe I was it was maybe this is a different video that I saw, that you're not wearing any protective glasses or gloves. Is that correct? Or do
That
you?
was on the video. That's on the video. Otherwise, Richard, when I do my metal work, that was on a video to just show my face. When I do my metal work, I look like a deep pandemic person with the glasses. Okay, so that was just on a video.
Okay, all right. So, and that was just for the video, so they could see your face and so forth. As I mentioned before, you use a grinder, a metal grinder. I was watching one of these. I love watching these little shorts, like on YouTube or on Facebook, and it's fascinating to me, some of the things that they show, especially when it comes to creating art. There are people that are making incredible stuff, and of course the videos make it look so easy.
Easy. I do these videos too on the
Yeah,
TikTok.
but it's
Some of
not
them.
easy. It's not easy, is it?
It's,
I mean,
it's a
seriously,
process.
seriously.
It's a process. It's a process. Um, it's getting. I think. One thing about to be an artist, it's a pretty cool thing. It does hurt a little bit different. So my art, it's coming from like 8 feet now to like it's going smaller.
Hmm.
But it's getting easier because you have these skills, and it's not easy, but it's getting easier because as a other profession, I think older you get, better your art is,
Hmm.
and easier it gets because you know the steps more. You're no longer, putting the legs on the snake. You know when to stop. And when I'm doing the intuitive art, it's just a flow of energy. And usually I do it for really nice people. So I really enjoy their energy. I'm just like floating around. Um, but the metal work, it requires a lot of, safety, and it's loud. I'm a loud artist.
I love it. I love it. I find it fascinating too, from my standpoint. Like I said, I'm not. I mean, I just I do what I do with pencils or colored this or that or the other, and it's I don't need protective gear. And yet, when I was a kid, as I was growing up, I used to build model airplanes and boats and that kind of thing, and I loved it. Now there would be those who would say, I bet you love the glue." I said, "Well, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't something that I was addicted to. Don't get me wrong. But it was still it was something that made me feel really good. And then when computers came along, I started building those.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and I bet the way I looked at models, I'm sorry, computers, when I was building those, was that they were working models.
Wow.
It was still a model, but it was a functional. It had a practicality to it And I got to
Wow.
tell you, I had a blast building them back in the 90s and early
Yeah.
2000s. You can still build them today if you want to buy a tower. And we're talking about a PC. Um, and it's really quite extraordinary to go through and put something like that together. And I would venture that an individual who builds cars, who likes to build cars,
Yeah.
goes through that same sense of satisfaction, just as you do when you are working on whatever project you're working on. And speaking
Well,
of which, I wanted to
yeah.
ask you in terms of that, because I know I believe you're still in the planning stages of this. We'll call it a monumental project called the Tower of Light. Uh, how are you feeling these days? Because have you actually physically started to create the physical art, or are you still in the planning stages of it?
I'm in a stage of building the website right now. I have a team of like I would my partner would call it past 3 months. I felt like our house being filled, like it reminds me Men in Black, like all of these like scientists, physics, spiritual people, like their vibrations are like, even this physics that I just met to talk about those, these towers are going to work on a solar power system, and there's going to be a sound system. So I have a sound engineer, I have a software engineer, there's going to be app to it. So I am in a stage of physically not yet building that, but
Mm,
the team is getting together, and it's incredible how when we're talking about spirituality and a science, it's actually the same thing. It's just different words. So I'm here talking about my, Tower of Light project, the way the light's supposed to shoot on the people, and they make their wish, and this physics is like, I'm not spiritual, but I know what you mean. Give me a piece of paper. And he starts drawing all of these things. And like,
mhm,
he's like, oh, the
mhm.
light needs to hit this. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah,
So it's the proof, the Tower of Light is the proof that I'm building something as far as spirituality
yeah.
and physics and the science and the art and all of it's a one thing. It's just one thing. We can call it art. We can call it, it's the same thing. So I do whatever you were building, the computers, I do um I'm going to do that. I just need everything that I had to download about these towers during my needed experience. I had a it was like a syringe download about astrology, about physics, about science, and I put it on a piece of paper, and all of these people who literally know and study it, they connect with it because they know what I'm talking about. So I'm very thankful for my like team of amazing, you know, like my partner said, Men in Black. Um, all of these like, alienish people, because I do believe that certain people are came here from different parts than just the earth. There is like these stardust seed people, and I can recognize them. Their
Mhm,
vibration is just like,
mhm.
some people can call them like a little bit, out there, but they do understand me and I understand them, and they definitely understand the vision. So it's not just me building these things. I am very thankful. I opened the portal to, I think it was this February. I've been planning this project for past 10 years, and when I finally decided that I'm gonna go back to it after my daughter's gonna be more independent. She's 6 now, so I feel that I can start doing this. So I'm very thankful for that, but it's not just only me. You were
Mhm,
building these computers by yourself,
mhm.
but
But
I am very thankful.
yeah, I had
Yeah.
a lot of input from other people while I was building them. If I had questions, I would call one of my chief engineers for the radio station I was working for, who was also into the stuff. Matter of fact, he actually sold me one of these really tall towers, and I was going to put a lot of stuff in it. I mean, I was going to, hard drive and all this kind of stuff, but I was going to put a lot of stuff in it. So I wanted a tall tower. And when I would run into a problem, I'd call him and say, hey, can you help me out here? I was actually putting a hard drive into a friend's computer and it wouldn't work. And I couldn't figure out why until I talked with someone and they said, oh, that manufacturer, oh, they don't like you putting anything but their product into their computers. In other words, it was proprietary. So it was a wonderful, wonderful learning experience, to say the very least. I wanted to dive into something else too, and that is a direction in terms of your art. I was experimenting in my drawings with trying to
Mhm.
draw human beings, the physical features, the attributes. And because of, especially in my teens, and I don't know if this has to do with the fact that I was born and raised in a family with 5 females and only 3 males, this affinity that I have for women and the female form, I was trying to draw all the different parts, right? So I drew, and I would just experiment in this one notepad. And one day, my mother and one or two of my sisters came over, and my pad was sitting on my desk, and my mother started flipping through it. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, I'm not sure that's necessarily a good idea, but not much I can do about it. And honestly, I wasn't really embarrassed per se. Um, she understood that, hey, I was just trying to draw the female form in all its splendor and glory. And I'm wondering, is there a type of art, a type of a form, a structure that you have experimented with, but you're still working on perfecting, if you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Or
You mean
is
like,
there another medium that you want to try, but you're not quite ready to dive in, or that you've been toying with, but you're not ready to really start creating art through that form? I don't know, maybe clay or ceramics or plastic or glass or any of the other hundreds or thousands of different forms of art that are created.
yeah, so I think that I tap into many of them. I mean, the Tower of Light, that project, it's really challenging because, like I said, it's a science, it's a physics, it's a interactive, like, place. So that's I think my lifetime, uh because it's a software. So it's like, I think that as far as like art, materials and processes, I tap into a lot. And I tried to blow glass. I'm from Czech Republic, so I tried that. I I'm okay. That's probably, I love it, but it's not my thing. I'm a tattoo artist as well, so I learned how to tattoo people because, again, it's a human connection. I do intuitive art. I channel people, and then I draw while I'm channeling their design, and then I tattoo their design. So I'm a tattoo artist as well. Then I did airbrushing. I airbrush cars and motorcycles, so I try that. I've been welding. I've been doing 3D thing, but porcelain, I think that I am too rough for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then a clay, I think it's a form that, it's, even though the metal work, it's messy. I think that I did do a clay, but I didn't stick with it. I think that my thing is to connect a spiritualist science and art form together, and I'm really drawn to
Mm.
metal and wood. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your life's philosophy. You were born and raised initially in the Czech Republic. I'm curious as to how you were raised and the different derivations slash philosophies that you've been introduced to where you are today.
Wow. Okay. The journey of my soul, it's really interesting. I've been born and raised in Czech Republic during communism. My dad was a professional soccer player. He was a very abusive, narcissistic person. So I learned at the early age that it's not safe. It was never safe at home. My mom remarried him twice, so she was the kind of a victim. So until that they did their dance, I literally kicked out my dad out of our house 14. So it's been like I grew up in a really abusive environment. I think that's why I have a big drive I had a nonprofit organization for children. I worked with kids with cerebral palsy in Chicago for 7 years. I support every nonprofit organization for children because I have a really big connection to child's healing. I believe that it's really important for us to understand how to teach them, how to behave around them, how to heal ourselves in order to be a good parents. And if we want to really change something in this world, I think we should start with the new generation. That's why the towers are going to help the nonprofits. So for my childhood, that was pretty dark times, but after 11, like when I was 11, like I could feel even in the country when the borders open and the communism wasn't around. My really big supporters was my grandmother, and she was a fashion designer. So she was the only one who kind of understood my mind. Otherwise, I would that's why I went to the business school, because my mom wanted me to be study business. And then when I was like, okay, my mom had a new partner, I could leave that. I felt like she's safe. The dad was not in the picture. I felt like, okay, now I finally can go and do my dream. And I wanted to be an artist. And I realized that to follow the dream somehow. And in my 20s, there was this calling that I literally have to do it to get from my small town on the borders of Poland and Germany and Czech Republic and just leave the continent. I mean, I could do it, that I could at least go to England. I don't know. But no, I'm always extremist. I'm a big extremist. I was just like, I need to go away from these patterns because I always felt different. I have a different, view on partnership, family. Like, I was just like, this is not right. I need to leave. I need to do my thing. So I left. It was really interesting. I opened my first gallery when I was 21 years old. It was, and I barely, I did speak English, but it was not fluent like now. So it was I basically delete all of my things that I grew up and I just start new. And then the deleteness, I would say, happened to me when I was 33 and I was hit by the car, because there was something that I tried to undelete and live my beliefs and all of that I recreated in the United States. But 33, when I was hit by the car and I had the near-death experience, it was like I had this walk-in. Like this lady, this medium told me oh yeah, when you woke up in emergency, did you feel like a different person? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, you had a walk-in. Some other soul walk-in to you. And I could not be attached at all to my childhood and to anything. I felt like totally different person. So I think that was such a gift. I mean, they never called that person, because if they call that person, I definitely have the money to build my towers on my own and don't need investors. But the gift was from the universe to download this information, to follow another bigger, the universe has these funny ways how to show us. And sometimes when people are so stubborn, which I was in my 33, you have to be a bit hit by a car, kind of, to wake up. I mean, in our lives, we do have these, they should not be that extreme. But
Right.
we do have these things that we're thinking, oh, it's happening to me. Like, I find out that this is about my health, or I have cancer, I have this. But it is actually the gateway to opening to something bigger and to believe in something bigger. So that would be my philosophy. I know that I don't know. So the earth magic, we were talking about this at the beginning of this video. The key concept, being grounded in nature, the quiet, dark place where all things begin, where essence is first before manifestation, knowing you're a part of the earth and she is part of you. We just spoke about it at the beginning of this. You were telling me about the frogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Gaia. And the reborn of Gaia this summer solstice in this year, it's the year of infinity. It's really interesting
Yes.
year. And the
Yes.
Lion's Gate and all of this manifestation, like she was literally reborn.
Mm.
Earth magic speaks to relationship that you all living things have with the conscious of the earth, also known as Gaia. Imagine the oak tree that began its journey as an acorn gathering the life force energy it needs from the earth so it can sprout up from the ground. And because you are part of the nature, you follow the same cycle of manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you are and the successful manifestation of your dreams begin below the surface. So you see, like we're putting right now with this interview, this little seed, and it's just, we're going to watch it.
Mm.
Be still for a moment, quiet your thoughts, and imagine your energy anchoring to the sacred quality of being part of this living earth. Do this mindfully to connect to this divine intelligence with the power to create the perfect form from the essence of tiny spark of light. This message now is to trust that the seeds you've planted in the field of dreams are in a good hands. So this is connected with your book. This is
Mm.
like you going to finish your book, And anybody who's listening to this, the earth is conscious, divine source of love. Slow down, take the beauty of your life now and trust that what you're intending is being nourished and is growing. There will be plenty of time later to tend to your garden, to water it and weed it. Create magic, it's underground, work its way to the surface to deliver more blessings that you could imagine. Just let it.
Mm.
Ooh.
I like it.
Ooh. I like it too. Thank you, Richard, and your seeds. We were talking about the aliens, the star seeds, and this is the earth seed. This is
Mm.
very grounding energy. What's the name of your book?
The name of the book is called Choices.
Here we go. So that is this reading was connected to your dream because we all like, I like that when you were saying about your podcast, it is about the dream, right? We all have the dream. It can be a little things,
Mm-hmm.
and we should definitely follow it. So hey, the Earth Gaia, it's telling you the book is gonna be good.
Well, I'm hopeful, but at the same time, I do my utmost not to have expectations. For example, I talk about the insights that we have as far as when I say that the analytics from the podcasting sites, and it tells you how many people have been listening or watching and so forth, and how many people subscribe. And I always say that the numbers are not what are important. It's that people are listening. And if there are a lot of them, even better. I'm very happy about that. Um, but as far as saying, I want 1 million followers or 1 million listeners and those kinds of things, and I get emails saying, we can optimize your video cast or your podcast and get more listeners to you and so forth. Um, uh, and I really don't follow through with those because that's not the point of this program. It is heard by the people who need to hear it.
That's
And I
it.
hope that people will spread it. Now, will I change my mind on that down the road? I may say, well, okay, if you, whoever it might be, want to help to expand the reach, I'm all for that. And I'm going to let you take it and run with it, because that's, let's say, your expertise, not you personally, but the person that might do that. But as far as I am concerned, it's really about the people who need and want to hear it. They'll be drawn to it.
Yes, and even
This isn't a popular.
yeah,
it's not a popularity
so
contest.
true.
I say again.
Yeah, it's so true. Like even with my towers, like lots of people are like, I'm trying to explain the whole concept, and they're like, Misa, this is really like profound, and I'm like, at the end,
Yeah.
I don't need to be understood. I don't need, like, it's not my ego that needs to be understood. Just experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Just be there in that moment, even that you're walking around and you're like, oh, what are these towers? And like, it's working no matter what.
Exactly.
And you will be drawn to it if you need to be there. That's how it works.
Yeah. Now, if there's someone that's listening or watching or who gets the book and wants to be a major benefactor, a supporter of what the work that we're doing with the program, I'm all for that. I was commenting in the last interview that I did. I'm not looking to be a millionaire or a billionaire. I mean, I'll be happy.
We could do lots of good things with those.
I absolutely.
We could.
Yeah, and I wouldn't turn it down. Don't get me wrong. But again, I would be happy initially starting out $100,000. That'll pay off everything that we've got going and still have a whole bunch left over to do a lot of other good work, not only for other people, but also for my wife and I to do some things that we've wanted to do and places that we've wanted to go and so forth. And of course, and then make that grow as well and expand on that. But to make that the focal point, which is what a lot of people have done with their lives, they make the acquisition of wealth the most important aspect. I am so frustrated when I hear people say that the economy is the most important element in our civilization. And I'm going, no, it's not. Because if you have people who are producing products that are killing the consumer, like cigarettes, among other things, how is that productive for our society when your product kills,
right?
That kind of thing. So you may remember, I don't know if you've seen this movie or if you watch many movies, there's a wonderful movie. I think the title of the movie is called Pay It Forward, with Kevin Spacey. And it's an older movie about a teacher who is trying to teach his kids about giving and supporting their community and so forth, and paying it forward. And this young boy finds a way to do this, but unfortunately, and I won't spoil it, there is a tragedy that happens. But the message is, it's wonderful to give and receive to someone. Here, I give this to you, Misa. You give that to me, Richard. What you want to do is, I give this to you, Misa. Now pay it forward to somebody else. Don't give it to me, which I appreciate, but give it to somebody else, and then tell them to pay it forward to someone else. It's like in the fast food line, when you're going through the drive-through, the guy up the window says, oh, I'm going to pay for the people behind me. Oh, $20, I'll pay for them. So when they drive up, hopefully because they don't have to pay for theirs, they'll pay for the person behind them. And I've heard that a chain begins. That's what Pay It Forward is all about. And that's what I want to do. So
that's what you're doing, Richard. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're already doing it. And with the frustration about the products that are not that great, we always have to have the dark. We're just going to make more of our good products, and we're just going to balance it out. The dark products have to be there. So we're not going to get frustrated. We're just going to overload with the light and love. And that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's what happens to me when I am driving. going down the hill or coming up the hill, and so forth, is that feeling that I get. That it's not overwhelming. It's a feeling of joy of sorts that you know what, everything's okay, everything's good, and life is good, and the place I live is good, and we're doing well. You know, maybe not by comparison to some, but definitely by comparison to others. But then again, why compare? You know, we're doing good, and life is good,
We're good.
and we're excited. We're excited about the prospects for the future. You know, so that's really exciting. Misa, first of all, let me let our listeners know that your website is misa-artwork.com. That's misa-artwork.com. No, the hyphen is a mark. It is not the word. It's misa-artwork.com. Or if you want to just Google Misa Art, you can do that and it'll take you right there. I did want to ask you one other thing here about another website that you have listed here, misaforlove.org. Tell us about that.
That was after my near-death experience. I opened a nonprofit organization for children. I do art classes for children where I teach them about colors and then energies. They're usually from 5 to 14 years old. And misaforlove.org. I closed the nonprofit a couple of years ago, but I still have the website. It has the concept why I wanna build the towers, because I do believe that at the end we are here to give love to our new generation, because that's the only way how we can actually change something.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also feel like one of the hardest part of human life is to have I do understand lots of a flow of the universe, why things are happening to us, even like cancer and all of that. But when it's happening to your child, and I believe it's like the biggest grief that a human can experience. So I would like those towers give back to all of the local nonprofit organizations, and the towers are going to be movable, so they're going to move around the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a stable, stationary project. It's going to give awards to a local artist. It's going to benefit nonprofit organization for children in a local place. So I will create these towers and I will propose them. After 2 or 1 year, they're going to be moving around the United States, and I'm going to build towers for Europe too. So there's going to be two.
They'll be everywhere. They'll be everywhere. Wonderful.
They'll be everywhere. They will be moving. So it needs to be moving. It's not a monument where it's going to look back and celebrating the past that someone did that. It's in the present moment interactive sculpture project that it's going to be moving with the places. So it's going to be movable. I'm going to put back my Legos, get my backpack, and go.
Misa Art, I want to thank you so much for talking with us here on the program. We'll do the other element that we talked about after the program is over. But I thank you so much for giving us so much time and working through what most people are not aware of are some of the technical issues that we have been dealing with. But we made it through. We made it through. And I thank you for being here on the program.
Thank you, Richard, so much. It was amazing energy. We blast the white light.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I do have 3 final questions to ask you before we wrap things up. But first, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m. for our special edition of Tell Me Your Story, and then Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m. That's 9 programs, 9 conversations, 9 different topics, 9 different guests for you to listen to and learn from and to be educated and entertained by, I do believe. I'd like to think so anyway. We stream live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We podcast at SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many other locations. And yes, we're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. I hope you'll subscribe and also click notifications so that when I post a new conversation, you'll know about it and you'll be able to tune in and listen in and again be edified. I'd like to really hope that that's the case for you and inspired as well. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, I'll take the $100,000. Thank you very much. All you have to do is go to PayPal. It's there for your security as well as ours. And put in the email address when they ask you, to whom are you sending this to? Richard@richarddugan.com. That's Richard@richarddugan.com. One other thing. We ask that during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, we ask that you spend some time going within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to the still small voice, that higher self, I believe, that is within each one of us, that will guide us through every minute of every hour of every day. And I'll tell you, the more you do it, the easier it is. I know that the first thing I had to overcome was trust. I had to trust, and I did. And now it's a whole lot easier. I don't go, no, that doesn't go along with my plan. I try to have plans, but I'm also extremely flexible. So take some time, if you would, please. With all of that being said, we move to our final three questions. And the first of those is, who is Misa ART?
Who is Misa ART? Final question. You want me to say it in 3 words?
As many, you just share with us what comes.
Okay. Definitely alien.
Okay.
A soul which was transformed to build something very beautiful for humanity. A mother and really funny person. An artist, of course.
What gets
Yep.
you up in the morning?
Right now, like it's changing all the time. I mean, it's like there's this, there's always underneath the dream, but when you go through the period when you have a kid, what gets up in the morning, it's not a dream, it's your crying child. So right now it would be the towers. I have this amazing morning meditation that I do, and I ask the universe to bring me whoever needs to help me to build this, and that's the drive right now. It's all love. It's all love.
And finally, what was your best day?
My best day. My best day. I think it was a couple, but like the best day, I think, when I woke up in the emergency room with a open head, 17 metal staples in my head, and I just saw the light. I just experienced something that I could not explain anyone. I was just smiling. It was the best day of my life. And then holding my daughter, of course, when she it was the same moment. It was it's a very similar vibration.
Well, Misa, thank you once again for joining us here on the program, and we will do that private reading here in just a little bit. Otherwise, I want to thank you again for joining us, and I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I am still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho. Aho.